Like an angel in the morning, shooting star across the night. The most beautiful girl I've seen in all my life. Every second spent with you, it's like a day that starts brand new. Girl, I'm so amazed at all the things you do. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you my sunshine, baby, don't you go away. I want me, all over me, around me, I love you. I will love you forever. I want me, all over me, around me, I love you. I will love you forever. I hear music in your words and in the way you call my name. When you're by my side, I can't do anything. You're my best friend, you're my lover. Without you, no one else would do. Through thick and thin, I know we'll make it true. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Yeah, you are my sunshine, baby. Don't you go away. Yeah, I want me, all over me, around me, I love you. See, I will love you forever. Yeah, I want me, all over me, around me, I love you. I will love you forever. My baby, you are my sunshine, my love and my essence. There's no one like you. My baby, you are my sunshine, my love and my essence. There's no one like you. You are me, all over me, already alive. Say I will love you forever. Oh, me, all over me, already. Say I will love you forever. My sugar, my honey, my lover, I will love you forever. My baby, my lover, and my best friend, I will love you forever. I place no woman above you. I will love you forever. I promise to always love you, baby. I will love you forever. And there's no one other girl to lose. I will love you forevermore. And ever and ever and evermore. I will love you forever. Cause you are my baby, my sunshine. I will love you forever. And when there's nothing more to say, I will love you forever. Forever and ever and ever and ever. I will love. All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight. Okay, so we continue from where we left off last time. In today's session, I call it trying to understand men and women. You know, one of the major challenges we have is understanding ourselves. And I will show you some pictures today and to also open our eyes to the fact that our major challenge is that we do not understand ourselves. Our major challenge is that we do not understand ourselves. If men understand women well enough and women understand men well enough, we'll probably have a more peaceful home. A more peaceful home. The youth of this generation are faced with the great challenge of choosing life partners. Many have followed practices and not principles, and these have led to a situation where
You have a high rate of divorce and paternity fraud in many marriages. So the goal of this program is to help everyone that will be part of it or who will be listening in future to be able to take the right decision in this critical area of their lives. You will hear some uncommon ideas or some uncommon thought about marriage in this series, but please note that these are based on research and it will help you to align with the current reality of our times. Listen with open mind and also go back to check some of the thoughts that have been shared, whether those things are so. To check some of the thoughts that have been shared, whether those things are so. So in the discussion around predisposition, still talking about anatomy, relationship, and marriage, our focus today will be on the fundamental differences. The fundamental differences between men and women. Now, when the Bible says we should deal with women with knowledge, it was when I began to learn these differences that made me to know why we must deal with them with knowledge. If you don't deal with them with knowledge, you will misinterpret and misrepresent what they do and the way they behave, and that might cause a big problem in the relationship. In examining the fundamental reason for differences between men and women, I want you to look at this picture. Look at this picture. This picture shows the fundamental difference between men and women. See, men, you see these colors. These colors, for men, the yellow, the red, the green, and the blue are separate. This represents emotion, mind, body, spirit. Emotion, mind, body, spirit. Just as these colors are distinct and separated from one another, that is the way emotion, mind, body, and spirit of man is separated from one another. Listen to this. So men are wired in a way that whatever affects the body does not necessarily affect the mind. Whatever affects the body does not necessarily affect the mind. And whatsoever affects the spirit does not necessarily affect the emotion. So a man has had a bad day at work, but he might not even tell the wife when they get home. He might not even be bothered or disturbed. He might not be on his mind. He has had a serious emotional trauma at work. Something happened, maybe the boss stop, whatever it is that happened. When he get home, it doesn't affect the way he behaves. It doesn't affect his mind. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't worry about it the way a woman would be. The way a woman would be. You know, if the man have a challenge in his body, he can still work. He has an issue, maybe he's sick or he has something in his body, he can still work. He lives his life in parts, separated from each other. Separated from each other. So therefore, whatsoever affects the emotion of a man does not affect the mind. But look at the woman. Can you see the way they are intertwined? Please confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see the way they are intertwined? Can you see my screen, please? Kindly drop a message in the chat if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Kindly confirm if you can see my screen. Samuel Chinedu Oladipo, can you confirm if you can see my screen, please?
Yeah, okay, yes, I can see the screen.
All right. Thank you. So if you look at this, you will see the way they are intertwined together. Remember, body, mind, soul, body, mind, emotion, spirit. For a man, is separate. For a woman, they are intertwined. For a man, is separate. For a woman, they are intertwined. Do you know what this means? Look at what this means. Whatsoever affect the emotion of a woman will affect her body, will affect her spirit. And hence, a bad news at work will put her in a bad mood when she gets to the house. A bad news at work will put her in a bad mood when he gets to the house. But for men, at least most men, a bad news at work does not necessarily mean a bad mood at home. A bad news at work does not necessarily mean a bad mood at home. Why do you think women often have mood swing most times? I'm sure you have heard about mood swing. It is because a woman is so delicate such that a news can have a tremor that can affect her whole being. A news can have a tremor, can create a tremor in her that can affect her whole being. Why? Because of the way she thinks. Because of the way she thinks. Whatever affects one, affects all. So they are delicate human beings, unfortunately for many men. Many men do not know, do not understand. In fact, some women treat, some men rather, treat women as if they are men. As if they are men. She had a bad news, she's feeling sad, and the husband is saying, is that because of those things? Is it because of that challenge? What is the problem? Why is he, are you thinking like that? Why is he affecting? Why are you not going to cook? Why are you not going? Because he does not understand the nature of the woman. He does not understand the nature of the woman. Why are women often having mood swing most of the time? It's because a woman is so delicate such that a bad news can cause so much tremor in her and affect her whole being. That is why a man and woman can have intimacy and the man will have forgotten as if nothing happened, but the woman will always be thinking of it. She cannot hide from it because it is all over her. You know, ladies, some ladies can see their friend, if their friend just met a man and is falling head over heel for the man, some lady can pick it and they can tell their friend, it's like there's a bro or there's a brother or there's a guy in the picture nowadays. They can pick it because it shows all over them. It shows all over them. It's like, it can be hidden. Even though it's an emotional issue, it affects other areas of their life. So it can be hidden. It can be hidden. Whereas the man has forgotten the intimacy, the woman is still thinking about the guy. Which is why sometimes you see some ladies, they're in an abusive relationship and they find it difficult to leave. They find it difficult to leave because of that delicate nature and the way they feel pulling away from that individual and how it affects every part of their life. That's why sometimes you said, you see a lady crying because a guy just maybe cheated on her or even broke up with her. Now. And some people will say, why? Is that the reason why you are crying? If you are saying that the reason why you are crying, I mean, you don't understand their nature. You don't if you understand their nature, then you understand why he's crying or why she's crying. The fundamental difference. Sorry, that is why a woman is always troubled when her husband is talking to another lady. These fundamental differences must be well understood as we go ahead with this conversation. Please note that I'll be very real, I'll be very raw, and probably sometimes graphic, and sometimes show you some pictures. Those pictures basically is to demonstrate something, not because I want to show you, but it's going to help me pass the message I want to pass across to you. So you bear with me with some of the pictures I may be showing you as we go along. Bear with me some of the pictures I may be showing you as we go along. But those pictures are to help me drive home my point. Now, I want you to look at something. Because having a good understanding of these differences, guys, if you can get this, you got it. If you can get this, you got it. If you can get this, you got it. Having a good understanding of these differences can solve problems in many relationships and marriage. Look at the next picture. I want you to look at this picture. See the way we see color. See the way we see color. See a man. Please confirm if you can see my screen. It's very important. It's very important that you're able to see my screen. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Just drop a message in the chat. Can you see my screen, please? Confirm that you can see my screen. Drop a message in the chat if you can see my screen. Are you there? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Esther says she can. I want you to look at this screen. See the woman. See the man. The man see red. The woman see scarlet and dark red. The man see violet. The woman see wine red, plum, eggplant, grape, purple, lavender. The man see pink. The woman see carnation, strawberry, salmon. The man see orange. The woman see melon and orange. The man see yellow. The woman see yellow and melon and lemon rather. The man see green. The woman see lime green, fresh grass green, dark green, moss green, green yellow. The man see blue. The woman see sea green, blue green, sky blue, turquoise. Now, I want you to see the way a woman see and the way a man see. Like I said, one of the biggest challenge of our time. The reason why, and that's why this is the last part of this. I told you this will take us about till the end of February. This is the last part of this, and you see these differences. If you can understand the differences between men and women, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to understand why we have problems. And that we don't see things the same way. We don't see the same way. For women, everything is complex, but for the men, everything is simple. We are both looking at the same photograph. Why the men are seeing just 7 colors of rainbow, the women are seeing more subcolors under each of the rainbow color. In a relationship, the man is seeing almost all the most important things, but the woman is seeing more details, more details, more details. This is the reason why, and it's important for women also to understand this. It's important for women to understand this. And the reason why it's important for women to understand this is this. If a woman also understands this, he will be able to help the man For example, you want the man to compliment you, you just made your hair. Remind him. Because he's not seeing it. The woman will say, you mean you can't, you mean, you mean you can't see that I just make my hair? The man cannot see it. So women cannot understand. I think they cannot fathom. I think they cannot, it's like he's lying. You can see it. But they don't know that the guy cannot see it. The guy cannot see it. They might even think the guy is lying. But it's because the guy really and truly cannot see it. The guy really and truly cannot see it. This is a big challenge, ladies and gentlemen. If a man, if a man and a woman meet another woman, if a man meet a man, I want to look at this picture. Look at this picture. Okay, look at this. This is another one showing shampoo. Women, when the man is buying shampoo, he just say on it, shampoo. That's why the man is buying. But the woman is looking for the brand, the smell, the color, the ingredient, the review, the quality. I think so many things the woman is looking at to decide what he's buying. He will check everything out. But the man just choose. The man just choose, just like that. He just choose. Look at this. A man see a man. What does the man see? The man see the man. The man see the man. The man see the man. That's all. They see themselves. Hello, hi, hi. But what does the man see? Can you see what the man see? Let's see a woman. When a woman see themselves, can you see what the women are seeing? No, just imagine what the women are saying. Just imagine what the women are saying. Imagine what the women are saying. Can you see so many things the women are saying? So when a woman, me is in front of another woman, you've seen so many things. It's not just seeing the face, it's looking at the hairstyle, it's looking at the clothes, it's looking at the bag, it's looking at the shoes, it's looking at the earring, it's looking at everything. But when a man is in front of another man, the only thing he sees is John. Or Kule, or Adam. That's the only thing he sees. That is why a woman is always complaining to the husband that you did not notice my new hairstyle. You did not notice that I am overweight or I'm losing weight. You did not notice my new clothes. You did not notice my new clothes. The same thing happened when they're on the phone. See the man and the woman. See the man and the woman. The lady is seeing the new jeans. He's seeing the color. He's checking out the hair. He's checking out the skin. He's checking out the makeup. See the man. Just see man. Same on the phone. The man is calling. If a man is calling, he's focused only on the conversation. But for a lady, it's beyond the conversation. It engrosses our whole being. It engrosses our whole being. This picture shows a man and a woman talking on the phone. The man is only hearing information, the words that is being spoken. But the woman is not just hearing, it's also feeling those words all over her body. Now, let's look at this one. A man and a woman in front of another woman. Whereas the man is seeing the features of the woman. If the woman is endowed either front or back, those are the things that attract the man. But what attracts the woman? Look at what attracts the woman. It is the clothing that attracts the woman. It is the clothing that attracts the woman. It is the clothing that attracts the woman. So imagine a woman passing by and a man, a woman looking at a lady passing by, while the lady is seeing the color of her clothes, her bag, her shoes. The man is looking at the features or the prominent or protruding part of her body. Those are the areas that attract the man. Now, these differences are so important for us to be able to understand that men and women are very different. We see things differently. Now, does this now make sense to you? The reason why there is so much issues in many homes nowadays? Does this make sense to you? Why we're having issue in many homes? Why we have irreconcilable differences? It is actually because the man and the woman do not understand themselves. Do not understand themselves. This is a very big challenge. This is a very big challenge. A good understanding of this will make a lot of difference in our lives. Now, the woman will be annoyed at the husband when he sees what the husband is looking at. But not knowing that that is the way the man is wired, that the man needs a lot of awareness and a lot of discipline to be able to avoid looking at those things. So as a Christian, for example, you have power over not replaying these pictures in your mind afterwards with immoral thought, because that becomes uncleanness and unrighteousness. But you will see it first if it comes your way. Another difference between a man and woman is the way we hear. A woman has an acute need to be listened to. So you must make conscious effort to always listen to her to express ourselves. Please note, if as a man you don't like gisting, please don't marry. Your wife is going to come around to gist with you. If you don't enjoy gisting, do not marry. There's no point. It's so important for you to have an idea of the nature of women. If you don't like talking, you like keeping to yourself, don't marry. If you don't find time to listen to your wife or your daughter, they will think you don't love them. And for your wife, she might become very mad at you. She might become very, very mad at you. Because she will think you don't love her. She will think you don't love her. She will think you don't love her. This is because women need to speak out everything in her, because that's the way she's wired. If a man hears something in a day, he has already forgotten it when he gets to the house. But for the woman, it is stored up in her mind because it is affecting her being. It is stored up in her mind because it is affecting her being. Because it is affecting her being, and because it is affecting her being, because it is stored up in her mind and affecting her being, she wants to talk about it. She wants to talk about it. That's why I said, if you are not ready for gist, don't get married. If you are not ready to gist, don't get married. If you are the quiet type, you want to keep to yourself, you don't want to talk to anybody, then don't put a woman in the house when you know you will not be able to engage her, have decent conversation with her. You know, this is why I always say, if you have the opportunity, marry your friend. I always say, if you have the opportunity, marry your friend. If you have the opportunity, marry your friend. Maybe someone you've known in primary school or secondary school or university, or maybe in church or any association you belong to, someone you're familiar with, someone you're comfortable gisting with. You should not be bored gisting with your wife. You should not be bored. She wants to talk. She wants to talk about what has happened during the day. You must be available to have that conversation. If you do not have that conversation, she might interpret it as she doesn't love me. She doesn't like me. She doesn't love me. She doesn't like me. And do you know something? If you have been listening to this series, you remember I said that one of the greatest challenge in relationship, one of the greatest challenge in marriage is communication. Communication is one of the greatest challenge in marriage. Do you know the interesting thing is that that same problem can be used to solve any other problem. Other problem like money, other problem like sex, other problem like unrealistic expectation, other problem like third party. Just by virtue of being able to speak, communicate, discuss, you can solve the problem. So that means if we are given to talking and gisting and discussing among ourselves, we will solve a lot of our problems. We will solve a lot of our challenges. We will be able to solve a lot of differences in us. Remember I said, the Bible says, dwell with them with knowledge. Dwell with them with knowledge. Why did the Bible say dwell with them with knowledge? It's because of what we are discussing tonight. If you do not dwell with them with knowledge, you will have the common irreconcilable differences. If you not dwell with them with knowledge, you will have the common irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences. Now, if a woman hears something in a day, a man rather, by the time he gets home, he has even forgotten it. But for the woman, is stored up in her and it affects her being. Therefore, she needs to unwind. For this to happen, she needs to speak about it in order to let it out from her and be relieved of the pressure. Maybe the way her boss talked to her, maybe the way her junior colleague talked to her, maybe the challenges she's facing at work, maybe an issue around, and she wants to talk about it. If she cannot get a partner or husband to speak to, she will need to speak to someone else. That is why a woman needs to speak. Research shows about 20,000 words per day, while a man only speaks about 7,000 words per day. Speaking is a relief system for a woman because it helps her because she experienced it in her being. Relief. She cannot find, if she cannot find an husband to speak to, she will speak to a friend. Now. If a woman is married and the husband is not available to gist with her, she might begin to gist with other men that are available to have that gist. And that might lead to infidelity if care is not taken. Because she will interpret that man giving her attention that she's able to talk to as love. She will interpret it as love. And because she interprets it as love, do you know what will happen? They might begin to go out. You know, sometimes you will hear that she's married, but he's still going out with or sleeping with her ex. You know, sometimes, in as much as these are bad character, these are things that should not be heard of, should not be happen, but maybe we should also begin to look at why it happened. What made it happen? Could it have been avoided? Could it be due to the fact that the man is not available to gist with her and she's already used to gisting with her ex? You know, some people, the reason they didn't marry their ex is because they are both similar blood group. They realized they were similar blood group and they didn't marry their ex. But they still have a fling for the ex. They're still interested in the guy or in the lady. So the lady now, even though could not marry this guy because they are both AS, and now he has married someone else who is AA, but this guy, while they were together, they gist a lot, they talk a lot, they are always gisting. They understand themselves. And now he's marrying a man that doesn't like gisting. In fact, this is why I tell ladies, you are at an advantage. You have to decide who you want to marry. Because you have to decide who you want to marry, why don't you be sure this guy is attentive to your gist? How frequently do you guys talk? Before you say I do on the altar. Remember, I've said, and I will repeat it again, the goal of courtship is not to be married. The goal of courtship is to decide whether we are going ahead or not. So if we decide to go ahead, it's a successful courtship. If we decide to break up that courtship, it's still a successful courtship because the goal is to achieve, is to confirm, can we go ahead or not? So the fact that we break up the courtship does not make it a wrong or a bad or a failure. No, it's not failure. The fact that it does not lead to marriage does not make it a bad courtship. In fact, it's a successful courtship, even though it does not lead to marriage. It's a successful courtship because it achieved the objective. What's the objective? To decide whether we want to go ahead or not. So you are the lady, you talk a lot. Not because you are talkative, that's the nature of the women. Whereas a woman unwind by gisting, a man unwind by watching TV or movie or reading something. If you are married to a woman as a man, you must find time to listen to her. You must find time to hear her out. That is why she is always asking you, how was your day? Or how was your journey? When you say, how was your day? Or how was your journey? She wants you to gist with her. She's not asking for summary. Men is summary. Even in telling time, sometimes my wife will ask me for time. I would say, tonight. And he will say, no, it's not tonight. It's 8:41. 8:41. Oh my God. 8:41. Me, I said tonight. She said 8:41. Women are always more details. That's why there are a lot of women judges. I think there are even more women judges in Lagos than men. They are very detailed. Very detailed. The devil is in the detail. They are very, very detailed. So when he asks, how was your journey? The man wants to summarize. The man just remembers some facts about the journey, whereas the woman is expecting you to unveil yourself to her, because by doing this, she believes that you are revealing yourself to her, and this brings her a sense of security. If you refuse to tell her what happened during the day, she believes that you don't love her because you are not willing to unveil yourself to her. But unfortunately, the man does not see it this way. Some men think that it is only their wife that is like this. And unfortunately, some go to marry another woman and only to see this in them, those that do polygamy. They feel it's their wife that is having this issue, peculiarity. Sometimes they go and marry someone else or marry a second wife or even separate or divorce. And the second one they marry is giving the same problem or the same issues. A lot of problems that people have in family is because men don't understand the nature of women and women don't understand the nature of men. That is why God said we should dwell with the women with understanding. But many young people do not seek to have all this understanding before going to the altar to say, I do. When men want the adrenaline to be released, why men want the adrenaline to be released? When they unwind, the woman want to speak when they unwind. The reason why a woman takes time to say what is on their mind when you're in the relationship and they want you to say what's on your mind is because they want to probe in order to be sure that they can trust you. They want to probe. They need you to speak. If you do not earn the trust of a woman through this probe, by spending time with them and discussing, they will find it difficult to open up to you also. Even in that relationship. Because you are not opening up to them. You are not gisting with them. So when there's a problem, you say, what's the problem? Say nothing. And I tell people that when the woman said nothing, be sure she has a lot on her mind. Women only open up to people they can trust. The people they believe love them, because when they open up, they unveil their life. They unveil their secret. And this to them is a great sign of trust. It's a great sign of trust. Women don't know that men don't have feeling like women have. Men have just about 3 major feelings. They have their pride, sex, hunger or hunger. Sex or intimacy, that's the kind of feeling they have. Pride or ego, anger or hunger. And so anything a man is feeling is only expressed through this channel. But if you look at a woman, they have tens of feelings because of their intertwined nature. And that is why they are so delicate, and so they must be protected. They are so delicate, so they must be protected. This is why they are experiencing more feeling and pain than how men felt, even in them situation. You just lost someone, while the woman is crying, the man is not, most of the time. During a conversation, a man is only giving information from his head, but a woman is experiencing and feeling that information in her being. If a woman say, I feel bad or pain in a part of the body, a man will say, go to the doctor now. But do you know what the woman is saying to you that you're not hearing? He wants to be pitied. He wants to be fondled. He wants to be listened to. He wants to be cuddled or comforted. Even though you are still going to say, oh, why don't you consider going to the hospital? But first of all, show care, show concern about that feeling. Show care, show concern about that feeling. If a woman comes straight to a man asking for exactly what they need, instead of saying they are feeling pain, the man might wrongly interpret that the woman needs sex, because that is the feeling the man knows. That is why it is normal. It is not normal to rumfandle a woman and be asked to do hard job like many of them are forced to do in our days, particularly women fending for themselves, taking care of the family because the man is irresponsible or the man is no more. When a woman is worried, a man will be asking for the main point. But unfortunately, the woman do not have main point because everything is intertwined. Remember the picture I showed you earlier? Remember the picture I showed you earlier? Can you remember the picture? Remember the picture? Everything is intertwined. Everything is intertwined. There's no main point. Going straight to the point might be challenging for her. Might be challenging for her. Going straight to the point might be challenging for her. This is why she needs to talk more. But unfortunately, many men cannot understand. Men also want to express their ego so as to be respected. And that is why they sometimes exaggerate. When men are talking or listening, they don't need 100% concentration. But women need 100% concentration during conversation. That is why they like to look to your eyes during conversation. That is why they like to look to your eyes during conversation. That is why they like to look to your eyes during conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a great difference between men and women. I strongly believe that 50% of divorce today is because men don't understand women, women don't understand men, and they are living together. It's creating big chaos because of lack of understanding of themselves. It's creating chaos because of lack of understanding of themselves. I will stop here today. Let me hear from you. Oh, this is good. We have reasonable number of people being able to join today. So it looks like the Sunday evening is a good idea for us after all. Okay, good evening, everyone. Let me hear from you. Esther, what have you learned tonight? I just said Esther. Good evening. Hello, Esther. Good evening. Are you there? Esther, are you there? Good evening. Okay, Ekot Hannah. Ekot Hannah, good evening. Ekot Hannah, you
Good
there?
evening, sir. Good evening, sir. It's Jeremiah, actually.
I
This is
was
my sister.
I was suspecting. I was when I said Ekot, I was suspecting. Go ahead.
So, yeah. I came quite late. Anyways, I was on the road. So there was this thing you said that I think stood out for me was the fact that everything connects for a woman. I don't know. I've heard that phrase before, but like it's becoming more apparent now when you engage in conversations. You're finding out that like the church connects to the house, connects to the work, connects to the food they're eating. Like everything is so intertwined that I can just pick a random thought and take it arbitrarily from all my other thoughts.
Yes.
But everything for them intersects at one point or the other. So you cannot take anything out of the conversation.
Yes.
So it's like everything is in a thread.
Yes.
And then the part of, let me check the note I wrote down. The part of those, I'm coming. You can move over to someone else. I'm trying to gather my.
All right, Esther. Esther, you raise up your hand. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
All right, sir. I didn't start with the section, but I please, pertaining to what you taught this night, I'm sure most of those things is part of what women that they are good hearts, like being detailed,
yes,
being taking note of information that are very, very key. So on the part of the men, they don't really know much about trying to picture out things the way women picture out things, and you were able to tell us to try, and if we have a partner that doesn't take cognizance of those things, it's just a form of giving them a reminder, trying to let them know the essential things so that it's not cause conflict in the home, because they don't really know those details, things that we women take cognizance of. So that's a major thing I was able to grab in today's teaching, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Ekot, are you ready now?
Ready.
Yes, go ahead.
So the first one you said you should dwell with them with knowledge. I think this is relative to so many things.
Yes.
So most of the things that you would just take in isolation, especially when you ask the person a question. And I think this works with most people, but I think ladies owe this to themselves. Like if you ask somebody how do you do, the person just says fine. I've come to realize that nothing is just fine. Like there's so many things that comes under the umbrella of one word.
Yes.
Just in the case of conversation short. And like on most times when people ask you, when in the marriage setting, when you are, or during the courtship, as you explained, during the courtship is like a period of testing whether you are compatible with each other, whether you should go ahead in marriage. Not if you do courtship, you must marry. So if you find out that every single thing, all your values align together during courtship, then get married. Yes. I think you said something you said before, that was if you are you like conversation, and then you are in courtship and the person you're in courtship with doesn't like conversation, if you want to continue with that relationship, you have to find something in common that you both share. That you will not be in a relationship and then you are talking and the person feels like, the person can't talk, can't respond, or you are quiet and the person is just talking and you're like, what kind of voila is this? Like there's no balance to it. You should be able to dwell with them with knowledge. Those are the main things. When whatever a woman says, there's always more to it. You try as much as possible to get all the information. And then also when they ask questions to give them everything so that they will not be like, hey, do not tell me. How did you expect me to know? All these unfinished conversations that lead to one or two things that you cannot answer for. Yes, sir.
All right. Favor Atasie, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, sir. I'm fine, thank you, sir. Well, this night was actually amazing because I've learned quite a lot. And for that, the fact that you said like women, they think like in circles, like I think I can attest to that fact. Like when a girl tells you that maybe she's fine or something, for example, if her facial expression is something else and she says she's fine, she's definitely not fine. She's definitely not fine. And I think for me, like, personally, if I do not trust somebody, I don't think I can open up to that person. So that part where you said people, women most especially, always express themselves to people they trust is very, very true. Very, very true. And the aspect of communication, like very true, very correct. People want, like women especially, want to always express themselves, especially if you're someone they like or they trust. They would definitely want to like pour their minds out and tell you everything. And the other part where you said, like a woman, for example, that is not, that her husband doesn't pay attention to, she's most likely to go back to her ex, is very true too. It's very true. So for me, like what really stood out is always pay attention.
Major challenges today that is causing infidelity.
Yes, yes.
Major challenge today that is causing infidelity.
Exactly.
Because the guy cannot understand,
Exactly.
and the lady is going back to the person who understands her.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, those really things, like it really, what really stood out for me was communication is very key. And the other aspect where you said women pay attention to detail is very true, very correct. Like if a woman tells you something, like, or if you say something to her, she has 1 million interpretations of what you just said. So I think for me, that those are the things that really stood out for me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ifeanyi, good evening. Hello, Ifeanyi, are you there? Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Yeah. I think I joined in when you're talking about when you're talking about ladies love you communicating with them, and at a point in time the network was reconnected. And really, when you're talking about men have three kind of emotion. That's the anger and hunger. I think that really got the better of me. And the others, when you're talking about ladies loving conversation, actually is true from my own conversation, because these days I've been working with a lot of I used to tell my friends and people that cares to know that these days I have more ladies as friends than the guys, and they'll be looking at me now, bro, what are you saying? Bro, that's just the truth. But I'm really learned a lot, sir. So please, I want to ask a question. I know this is not part of what you're discussing. If you pray through, like you pray through, and in the church, like DLC, and you got to know the sister, what do one do from there? Is it first to the marriage committee or
No, it depends on you.
Like,
there are people in this platform that are not necessarily going to the church, to your church. So,
okay.
Yeah. So what I always tell people is, depends on you. If there's a process in your church, you follow it. If you are not okay with the process in your church, you are the one that is getting married. If you want to do it other way, what is important is that you are the one getting married. So whatever it is, if it's good, deal with the good part.
Okay.
You also deal with the consequences.
All right.
Understand? So
all right.
I'm indifferent about the process you follow. What is important for many churches, what they often say is, if you are led to a sister, you tell your pastor. Some of them don't have kind of arrangement that some other big churches have. You tell your pastor, and of course your pastor will typically, and the reason I think that's a good arrangement, because sometimes some ladies have 3, 4, 5 people chasing them, and they are confused. So we have a system that allows one person to talk to the lady per time. It also helps the lady to think through, rather than having 5 people and then which one to choose. So most of the judges also, the reason why they put those systems in place for those that have, where you have only pastor or you go and see a committee, is basically to ensure that there is check and balance. So as to ensure that people, the ladies don't get disturbed or confused. It's not funny. Whereas some ladies have multiple people coming for them, some ladies never had one. You understand?
I get your point. I get your point, sir.
Actually, in campus fellowships, and that's a challenge.
True.
So for me, because of the fact that a number of people also on the platform are not necessarily from the same church, I always say, if there's a process in your church, it's wise to follow it. But if you're not comfortable with it for reason best known to you, what is important is that whatever you are doing, ensure that you follow scriptural principles to guide you, whichever way you want to do. Because the truth for me is, we marry 3 times in Nigeria, 3 times. We do traditional, that's a marriage already. We do court, civil, that's another marriage already. Then we still do church wedding, that's enough. So we marry 3 times. One of them is enough. One of them is enough. One of them is enough. You can do the court and people come and pray for you there. You can do traditional and people come and pray for you there. But we'll do the 3. It people enjoy a lot of stuff. But if you're okay with it, that's fine. But the pastor will come and pray for you and you're fine to go with your wife. Or you do traditional, I think is the most important because you need to pay dowry. I think that's the most important. Then by law, you need to do court. If you want it to be recognized by the government, then
true.
If you're a Christian, then you want to go to church. But I mean, for me, it's neither here nor there. You should always remember that you are both adults and you are the one getting married. You know, principle that should guide you in whatever it is you're doing, so that at the end of the day, you don't get yourself into what eventually will not be okay for you. So you guys should know what is good for you, and that should be, but just ensure anything you do, you ensure scriptural principle guide you. That's what I think most important. All right. Who has not spoken? Okay, Grace. Good evening, Grace. Hello, Grace. Hello, Grace. Are you there? Good evening. Hello, Grace.
I joined in late, sir, so I didn't really get. I just joined the question and answer part. So yes.
Okay, no problem. So it's recorded, so you can always have it on the platform. Miss Blessing. Miss Blessing. Hello, Miss Blessing. Miss Blessing, are you there? Okay, Miss Blessing is not there. Ola. Good evening, Ola. Can you hear me? Ola, good evening. Are you there? Okay, Ola is not there. All right, I think everybody has spoken. Other people are not around. Thank you. Okay, Godwin, Olayinka, you just joined, right? Do you have a comment? Does any other person have a question beside the comment? If you have a question, let me know before we close tonight. Like I said, this will continue for a while. It will continue till end. Okay, Ola, yes, go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you? Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir. All Actually, right. I joined late, but I was able to gather some information, especially concerning the behavior of ladies, like the way we want to be attended to. Like, I think for me, I was able to gain one or two things, like the way men behave, something like. Well, actually, I have one question, like based on your male friends that are already married, like the ones that have issues with their spouse, you understand? And most times most of the issues, as in, let me say, the major issue they used to have is lack of communication with their spouse. And as a result, they try to communicate with you, like you that they know that they flow very well with.
When you say lack of communication with their spouse, what do you mean? Is it that they don't talk to their spouse, or wives don't talk to them, or what do you think is the issue?
What I'm trying to say is some of them don't really flow with their wives, like.
Oh, can you see now? Can you see? Can you see? For those that listen, hear what Ola is saying. They don't flow. They don't flow.
So,
And they went ahead. You know?
so at the end of the day, they will have to like start communicating with you that they know that they can flow
And they
very
have
well
been
with.
flowing with before.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you are the person that somebody for example, like I have some of them that do call me, like we talk for like close to an hour, more than an hour. But sometimes I try to cut them off, like, but it's like you're trying to harm them, like they just want to hear from you, they just want to tell you some things, and by the time you tell them that go and discuss with your wife, if you have issue, go and sort it out. I think it's always like you won't understand. Most time I try to make them understand that for me, I feel that there's nothing one cannot sort out. Like when you have some of them that tell you that okay, for example, one that says they match make the marriage, like they didn't really know each other before they get married. So now it is difficult for them to separate.
It's difficult.
Even though they are not together like that, but they still see it that okay, since we have kids, we have to still stay together. So instead of okay, having issues with you at home, let me look for somebody I can be this thing with. So for me, I just want to ask, like, cutting them off, does it sounds like you are being rude to the person? Like,
No, having
sometimes I try to cut them.
That's the challenge I was talking about when we started. That's the now for you as a lady having a 1 hour conversation. I think that's too long. You are now feeling the space that their wife should be feeling, and I think that will not be too okay. If it's just chat, maybe, but if you have to talk on phone and for 1 hour,
even when you are chatting, you chat more than 30 minutes. To me, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes
I won't want you to cut them off there completely, and the reason is because you being able to also communicate with them is important, to let them know what they are missing or what they are getting wrong. Like this kind of stuff now, you can send this kind of stuff to them, this kind of was in a material to them, that look, this is what is missing in your marriage, this is what you could have done differently. So maybe you need to improve on your communication with your wife. So I feel cutting them up completely might not be too okay for them. But you also want to limit how much time you're spending with them. Don't fill that space. Let them feel the impact of that space, and you now tell them why they must go back to their wife and find a way to initiate conversation that will enable them feel that space. Why you should avoid filling that space for them, because if you keep filling the space, they won't find a way to sort out the issue they have with their wife for their wife to fill that space for them. So that's why I would recommend you don't spend a long time, but don't cut them off completely, because you might also be able to help them with information that will help them take that decision. That would be my recommendation. But what you have said tonight, sincerely, just clearly confirm exactly what I've been talking about, which is the fact that if that void is there, if that space is not filled, if that space is left open, then the tendency to go back becomes higher, to go back to whoever it is they have as friends who have that conversation with them in the first place. You know? So, I mean, I hope those of us that are here, can listen to this, and you can see where the big challenge is. The fact that people are marrying, and they are marrying people that they can't gist with. They can't, when you hear, like what you said, Ola, that they matchmake, and I'm asking myself, how can adults, most of you are adults, and people are matchmaking you? Not that the matchmaking is something that you want, you like, you don't mind, but matchmaking that you're complaining about. Why? So it's so amazing this in our life these days. When I hear some stories, it just doesn't make sense to me, but I know it happens. Why will you matchmake? You are going to take a definitely sensitive decision, a lifetime decision, and someone is telling you this is the person you must marry, and then you went ahead and married. That means you don't have an idea of what you are going into. That's the only reason why you will do that. Because if you have an idea of the complication that will happen and the issue that should come out of it, you won't even dare go into it in the first place. You want to marry your friend, someone, some people, this is also the challenge I have with people that are Christians who say they marry because it's will of God. But they forget that we hear in part and prophesy in part. That even when you think you have heard, one of the ways you confirm if indeed God is speaking to you is how is communication with this person. Someone that you are not communicating with, someone you are only having issue, you can't even stay with, or you are having issue, and you are saying God is leading you. God is not a lot of confusion. It won't lead you to someone that both of you are not compatible in terms of conversation, in terms of discussion, it won't lead you to that. So for me, those are even signs for a lady or a guy to know that if I think even God is leading me in this direction, these are signs to let me know that I need to check this because I can make a mistake. We see in part and prophesy in part. Even if I think this is where God is leading me, are you sure you have not made a mistake? Because Paul said we see in part and prophesy in part. Even though you think you have seen, then you have to check it. So because of the propensity for error, these are some of these signposts that can help you know, reconfirm whatever it is you believe you've heard to make you know that, okay, I think I heard correctly, I think I heard well, I think this is the direction to go. These are signs to let us know about it. And like I said, I believe that about 50% of challenges in marriages are really as a result of this thing we're discussing today. Because most of the time you have, they call it irreconcilable differences. Why are they having irreconcilable differences? They are not having conversation. Because there's no challenge in this life that we cannot discuss, no matter how bad it is. There is no challenge. That's why I give it to politicians. You will see two politicians that abuse themselves when the need arises for them to align. You see them aligning. They only have permanent interest. There's no permanent enemy. It's only permanent interest. It's amazing to me when I see politicians simply abusing themselves, talking against themselves. When there is need for them to collaborate, they will collaborate. When there's need for them to collaborate, they will collaborate. But they just abuse themselves not quite long. How come they are collaborating? Because they know no permanent enemy, only permanent interest. So there's no problem that cannot be discussed to be able to solve. There is no problem. So no matter the challenge, like the one that Allah is talking about, if the guy is ready to sort it out, they can have conversation around this and begin to work at it and begin to maybe set a timetable to have conversation and be deliberate about it. Because it's an issue right now. But if they don't want to, of course, they won't be able to solve it because they must first discuss it and agree for them to be able to go ahead. Does any other person have a question? Any other question? Any other question? All right.
Sir, I have something to say. Hello,
Go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I listened to a pastor recently.
Okay.
He was saying something like some people are talking about like some Christians are against divorce. So he was not trying to say that the only marriage that God doesn't support divorce is the one that it is joined by God.
That is joined by what?
By God. Like, the Bible says that the Bible says that what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Hello, can you hear me? So the pastor was not trying to say that for him, like what he believes is that it is only when it is God that really joined the two of them together. But if it is not God and you are in that house, you are experiencing something that is life-threatening.
How do you now know if it is God? Did you explain how to know if it's God that joined them together?
No, he was just trying to say that in the situation whereby you are not comfortable in that home,
yes,
and it may lead to like suicide, and you are still quoting the scripture that what God has joined together, let no man put us under. That it is better for you to go your separate ways, like go for divorce, than for you to say it is God that joined you together. Whereas there is not even God that join you in that kind of situation. I don't know, maybe you
No,
understand
no, that argument does not hold water. If when they are joining together, they join in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. God instituted marriage now. So whichever way you choose to marry, God recognizes it. So my own
even after the joining, if you discover that what you are experiencing there is not
the covenant of life is more important than the covenant of marriage. If your life is threatened in a situation, it is unwise for you to stay there. It is unwise. So typically, it's encouraged to separate to see if they can resolve the issue. It's encouraged as much as possible.
Okay.
The more divorce we have in our society, the more dysfunctional our society is. When the Bible says, I hate divorce, it's because it destroys family fabrics, it destroys society. There's a lady I was following online. I follow on TikTok, and she's starting a movement in the US, the movement that want to stop payment of child support and alimony and bring the family back. Because the fact that women know that they will get child support and alimony and they will share the proceeds of the man every month, make many of them to want to divorce so that they can be free to do whatever they like and still be taking part of the money of this man. Now, it's creating a big challenge in the society. Because when a child comes from a dysfunctional home, most likely that child will become a dysfunctional child. If we have many dysfunctional children in our society, we have a dysfunctional society, then human beings will not be able to function like human beings. And that is a big challenge. When you see street urchins, area boys, people stealing, a lot of issues in our society is because a number of them come from dysfunctional homes. That is a challenge. So that's why you want to avoid divorce. But when life is threatened, of course you can't stay in that relationship. Anybody saying you should stay there does not love you. Anybody saying you should stay there does not love you. You might not divorce at the beginning. It might be separation to see if it can be resolved. If both parties eventually became mature, and it has happened. People have separated for 2-3 years and eventually came together and they realized that it's a mistake and they are now best of friends. It has happened. Only that for some it never happened. So, but the idea is to see, can they still be able to find a middle ground and live together in peace? If not, maybe that might be a good option. Because you can't stay and then someone is beating you every day. What kind of life is that? It doesn't make sense. So any pastor or religious leader saying you should stay there, it's not being fair, and it doesn't love you, you know. But the issue is the fact that the Bible says he hates divorce. That's the reason. That's what people quote, but does not mean that someone wants to kill me, I should stay there, and you say because I didn't stay there, that God can see the reason why I can't remain here already. So it's wiser to leave. But let me tell you, the reason why we are having this conversation is to ensure that we don't even make a choice that takes us to that point in the first place. That's the whole essence of this conversation, that we do not make a choice that takes us to the point where we are now so frustrated, so unhappy, so sad, so depressed, and that we want to leave, because if we don't leave, it might lead to someone dying. That is the reason why this conversation or this series, we are already on episode 20, is it 27 or 26? We'll be doing episode 25 rather. We'll be doing episode 26 next week. You know, we are already on 26. Why are we spending so much time discussing this matter? For me, I think this is a very crucial and important matter in the society that we do not talk about, but that we must be talking about. Now, that's why I tell people that when you go for seminar and they speak for 1 hour, 2 hours, and you think you have done seminar, you do that once a year or once in 2 years, you don't have an idea. If that is working for people in many years ago, it can't work in our days. It's now much more complicated that you must learn as much as you can, because the more you know, the more light you have, the easier it's for you to take the right decision in this area. I don't know if I've answered your question, Ola. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for being able to make it tonight. We continue next week. I think the Sunday idea has come to stay, so we just do Sunday evening every week. See you next week. Have a wonderful week ahead. God bless you.
Amen. Good night, sir. God bless you.
All right, good.